here with Mahoney Root Soap and Candle Company. Welcome to my first video of many, I hope, in regards to how we create soaps at our studio. In this video, I'm going to show you a process. I have two processes that I use. I use cold press or heat transfer, which I'm going to explain through the video. Heat transfer is basically using your heat from the lye solution in order to melt your hard oils, and then going into your softs, and of course going into the whole process of making soap. A few things that I do want to say before I get started. I do kind of like a safety intro. I did leave out wearing a mask or some type of face covering in my recommendation once you start pouring that lye and or the combination of lye and water or whatever liquid you're mixing it with. Sometimes those fumes can get a little heavy. So I do recommend, along with your protective wear, long sleeves, gloves, definitely an area that's well ventilated, and also, like I said, a face cover, whether that's a mask, a shirt, or something like that. But I hope you do like this video. Don't forget to leave a comment, subscribe, thumbs up. If you have anything you would like me to create, hopefully I can, or I have the ingredients, you could definitely drop it in the comment section, or you could follow us and then, inbox me or drop it on Instagram. You can follow us definitely on our social media platform, which is Facebook, Instagram. We're coming to Twitter and Snapchat pretty soon. Of course, at Mahoney Roots Soap and Candle Company and or MahoneyRoots.com. Thank you for all the love. Let's get into some soap making. Alright, so to begin, we're going to make sure we have all our safety gear intact. That will require a pair of gloves, protective eyewear of your choice, and something that is long sleeve that will definitely protect you from possibly any splashes from the lye solution. Now, to show some ingredients that I'll be using today, here I have some coconut milk that's frozen. I actually have a video on how I make my own coconut milk. The hard oils I'm using for this recipe would be shea butter along with coconut oil. Of course, it looks like it's almost melted. My soft oils of choice is olive oil, almond oil, along with castor oil. And I like to blend those two to just make sure they're blended together. Now, the start of this recipe, of course, is fresh avocados, and I'm going to go ahead and take out of the skin and just make sure I clean around the edges and get ready to add in our recipe. Now, I will be using Alpine Green Mica from Nature's Soaps with a little bit of titanium dioxide in one batch to make it a little bit lighter, just to give me a contrast of greens. Now, off camera, I went ahead and mixed my lye and water solution along with my coconut milk. Here I'm adding it over carefully, of course, into my hard oils, and I'm gonna use a whisk to begin, just to kind of get everything moving and melted before I use my stick blender. I find that it's great to kind of whisk everything until it melts down before doing so, just to make sure everything is incorporated properly. And here we have everything is nicely blended together. At this point, it's optional, but I like to just gauge my temperature to see what I'm working with. As you can see, it's like 130 something, so it's still pretty warm. At this point, I'm gonna go ahead and just whisk it a few moments more and set it aside while I prep my avocado. For the avocados, I like to put them in a separate container and add in a few or little of my soft oils just to cover it enough. I find that if you have enough oils, it kind of blends it out a lot easier. You don't have to keep adding it. So at this point, I'm just taking the stick blender and I'm just working that until I get it into a nice puree form where we'll be able to add it into our main batch. Now before we add our avocados, I'm going to go ahead and combine our soft oils with our hard oil mixture. I like to use a whisk to kind of whisk everything before I use the actual stick blender. On prior experiences, I could say when you use a stick blender a little too soon, that could kind of have your soap go through a hard trace quicker than you would want it to. So I like to just whisk everything together. When you do combine the oils, sometimes your temperature does drop. So I think I was able to check at like 110, which is close to a perfect temperature for me. Now after I've made sure everything was whisked together, I'm going to go ahead and use my stick blender, definitely tapping on the bottom of it to release any air bubbles, and I'm going to go ahead and start blending. I'm going to go ahead and blend it for about maybe 2 to 3 minutes just to make sure everything is incorporated properly, and then I'm going to split into 2 batch where I'll be able to add my colors for the green effect that I'll like. This is not going to have any fragrance, so kudos for that one. I won't have to worry about how fast this set up. So we're just going to go ahead. As you can see, I'm just testing to see where I am with my trace. Once I'm finished making sure everything is blended, I'm going to add in the avocado puree mix. Sorry, I'm like blocking the camera, of course. All I'm doing here is just scraping it out, making sure everything is going to use. Once I have it in the bowl, I'm going to first use my hand to kind of whisk it in with the bottom of my stick blender before I go ahead and fully blend it together. Now the color concept that I'm going for with this is something of a light to kind of yellow green, and had a swirl of a darker green. So in the smaller batch that I have to the side, I'm gonna add more green, more of that alpine green, and for the larger batch I'm gonna add some of the alpine green along with the titanium dioxide to give it a more lighter color. Now, once I've added everything in, I'm going to go ahead and just check to see where I am. Still kind of on the light to medium trace. It's kind of there, but it also is going in. Now, what I'm going to do is combine the darker batch that I have, and I'm just going to drop it in, kind of making a swirl with it. And I'm going to use a stick just to kind of move everything together. I wasn't really going for any fancy design. I'm just, mixing it in pot. Once I have everything blended to my liking, I'm going to go ahead and start adding this batter to my molds. I'm going to pour halfway through, and of course taking it to the ground where I'm just going to knock it to release any possible air bubbles from the bottom. Here I'm trying to think about the design. I first start with the swirl and then change my mind, and of course you could do that before your soap sets up. All you have to do is use a spatula to kind of smooth the top, and or just tap it down lightly. But in the end, I'm just gonna take a knife and just do something real simple, nothing fancy again. Now once that's done, we're going to set that to the side, and here we have somewhat of the finished product. This I think I had for over 10 hours sitting. It's still relatively soft. I wish I had left it a little bit longer. As you will see in my first cut, it is definitely still moist on the inside, which works out to be fine because with this process, cold press or heat transfer, the soaps do have to cure between 4 to 6 weeks, where the water is evaporated out of the product, leaving it nice, hard, and dry. So I'm showing you here, of course, the swirl that we have, and I'm pretty pleased with how it turned out. As you can see, the back of this is definitely still soft. As technology would have it, I unfortunately lost the audio file to this video, but here I'm just showing you, this is after letting the soap sit overnight, how it's kind of somewhat evaporated a little bit of the water, so it's not as moist as it was when I first cut it. Again, this does take 4 to 6 weeks to cure, to which I do have a rack that is going to sit on, and it will be available for sale. Again, this soap is unscented. It's all natural products that was used to create it, from the oils down to the avocado. As always, thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment, and follow us on our social media sites. Until the next video.